Well, to answer that, I'll just quickly say before I started, the publishers said, do you want me to send you any other Taylor Swift books that are out at the moment? And I said, okay, just so I can have a look. And I read one of them, and it was just the most boring, depressing thing I'd ever read. It honestly was just like I told you, she was born here, she went to school here, she's really famous, we love her. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do that. It was kind of like writing just a very, very long music feature. I do put my personality into my feature writing.
Welcome to the True Fiction Project, a podcast series that explores the origins of fiction. Every week, we begin with an interview, nonfiction, followed by a creative piece, fiction, inspired by something from the interview. The idea is to demonstrate, of course, that fiction is born out of our life experiences. Now, here's your host, storyteller, author, public speaker, health and wellness expert, Reenita Hora.
Welcome back to the True Fiction Project. I am your host, Reenita Hora, and I have with me today Caroline Sullivan. She is a UK-based music journalist, something that I absolutely love because, as you all know, music is something that I devour. Who doesn't? And what I love about Caroline specifically is that she has written a whole slew of books, many of them my favorite artists. I'm very excited to talk with her today about her latest book. It's an unauthorized biography of Taylor Swift called Era by Era. Hi, Caroline. Welcome to the True Fiction Project.
Hi, Reenita. How are you? And thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And let's launch right into it. You've written 6 books or 6+ books?
I have written 6 books. 5 of them are about specific pop stars. I have done Madonna, Ed Sheeran, Adele, Dua Lipa, and Taylor. So all pretty big pop stars. But the one that people talk about the most is my very first book, which was about my tragic love affair with the Bay City Rollers when I was a kid. And it's called Bye Bye Baby, My Tragic Love Affair with the Bay City Rollers. And that's currently been optioned for a TV series. Hopefully, it will be on your screens one of these days.
That is just very intriguing and sounds like we should be doing another recording for a whole different show just to talk about that. Definitely want to do that. But is that what sort of led to all of this interest of yours in writing about pop stars? How did that come about?
Well, when I was a kid, I've always absolutely loved music. More than anybody else in my class, I was always the one going to big concerts in New York City where, my friends didn't want to do any of that. And when I moved to London in the 80s, I was able to write a column for an American magazine. I'm giving you the short version of this, by the way, not the long version. I was able to write a column which then led to writing for Melody Maker, which is a really big, important music paper in the UK. That led to writing for The Guardian, which is an even bigger, very important paper in the UK. Became their chief rock critic, and the Bay City Rollers book came about at the end of the 90s, and after that I was offered other books to do. Because you know what it's like, Reenita. You have a success with one thing and suddenly people love you. So why didn't they love me before?
Too true. But an unauthorized biography, so 5 of your books are unauthorized biographies of pop stars. Explain to us, what is an unauthorized biography and how do you go about writing one? It cannot be easy when you don't have the permissions, right?
All you're really lacking is meeting the actual pop star. So the other permissions, there really aren't any. As long as you don't pretend when you're writing the book that you've actually spoken to them, you're basically fine, generally. It's almost like writing a story about a very famous person whose music you really like. You research it really thoroughly. The research is the worst bit, I can tell you. Writing it is nothing. It's the research that kills you because it takes weeks and weeks and weeks. I mean, you write your own books, so you know what it's like, but they're fiction, aren't they? So
how, the process, the source material is anything that's been published. And is that right? This is what I'm guessing.
Yes. So if I happen to know somebody who was, say, at Taylor's record company or one of her PR people, and they agreed to speak to me, I would be allowed to quote them as long as they said I could. I could say, I've spoken to this person who does her PR. Oh, the other thing is, which you might not know, you cannot quote their song lyrics because you would have to pay for permission to do that. So you can quote the titles, but you can't quote even 2 words from a song lyric. You're allowed to do that in newspaper reviews, but not in a book.
I see. So, do your books include yourself, your perspective? Are they sort of memoirs of you with a view to this particular pop artist, or not at all?
You ask good questions. You're not really allowed to get yourself to put yourself into the story, but the flavor of your writing can definitely be in the story. I mean, I have seen too many unauthorized biographies of people where it's really bland, like, Taylor was born here and she grew up here and then she became a pop star. But you are allowed to flavor the writing, just make it something that you would be proud of writing. And so that's what I've done.
Tell us about that. Tell us about era by era, anything that you can, anything that you would like us to know about the book, and how have you made it funny? Because it is what it is. In your research, the newspaper article, whatever it was.
It's more that I've approached certain parts of her history with a kind of dry humor. It's not like laugh out loud comedy, but for instance, she lived in this really affluent town in Pennsylvania before she went to Nashville. And I saw pictures of her house, and it's one of those really the kind of Hollywood style mansions in Pennsylvania with like marble floors and gold leaf everywhere. And I said something about how it was really subtle, which obviously it wasn't. It was incredibly unsubtle. Do you know what I'm saying? Big and really glamorous. That's how I just tried to get a flavor of myself. Well, I try to get my own sense of humor into things.
Absolutely. So applying the British humor here, seeing as you have transplanted yourself from New York to the UK.
To the UK, where I am sitting right now.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Taylor Swift, I mean, what specifically interested you about her? I mean, of course, even as I ask that question, what is not interesting about Taylor
Exactly.
Swift to every Swiftie who's by default a Swiftie, on this planet? But I'd love to hear your version, your story.
Do you know, the reason I was asked to do it, I mean, I did not pitch this book. The publishing company came to me because
Okay.
I had done a Dua Lipa book for them a couple of months before. And this was in November of 2023. The Eras tour was underway. It was coming to the UK in June of 2024. So the publishing company said, would you be interested in doing a Taylor Swift book, same as Dua Lipa? And I was like, oh, I suppose I could be persuaded. And if I'd known how grueling the work was going to be, I might have thought twice, but I am very, very glad I did it. I got it in under before my deadline. And it came out in June of last year, and it has sold 50,000 copies.
Amazing.
Considering that every other publisher last June also brought out a book about Taylor Swift, I think that it's really good that mine has done so well because it had so much competition. So I was really thrilled to see that because I've never actually had a proper bestseller before. It even got to #2. I mean, I don't know if you know the Sunday Times in England, but oh, you do. Of course, you're sort of connected to the UK through India, aren't you? So it got to #2 in the Sunday Times top 10 bestsellers list. And that was really amazing.
Truly amazing, and congratulations for that, because
Thank
that
you.
is a tough list to just be on, and certainly, climb the ranks of. What is it about era by era that makes it stand out as compared to these other Taylor Swift books?
Well, to answer that, I'll just quickly say before I started, the publishers said, do you want me to send you any other Taylor Swift books that are out at the moment? And I said, okay, just so I can have a look. And I read one of them, and it was just the most boring, depressing thing I'd ever read. It honestly was just like I told you, she was born here, she went to school here, she's really famous, we love her. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do that. It was kind of like writing just a very, very long music feature, because I do put my personality into my feature writing.
Amazing. So, what is your favorite part about this particular book? Any stories or anecdotes you want to share? And what have you learned about Taylor Swift that you didn't know already, or that we perhaps might not know?
I learned so much stuff, how she got her record deal and how she met various boyfriends. And also, do you know her current boyfriend, the football player? She's got a boyfriend who's a football player on the Kansas City Chiefs. And something I learned through my research, his name's Travis Kelce, and everybody pronounces his name Kelsey. And I know for a fact, because I've heard him say it, it's Kels, not Kelsey. And I wrote that in the book, pronounced Kelsey. I feel like I'm doing the readers a favor that they
I
won't mispronounce his
see.
name.
I see. But she's one of these artists who has also really stood up for the rights of other pop artists in the industry in general. I mean, with her whole sort of standing against, Spotify taking royalties that were undue, etc. So much to be admired about, on for a whole slew of things. Is there anything just from her, let's call it music activism, that part of her life that we don't know about or don't know so much about that we should?
I have a gigantic amount of respect for her. She's one of the most intelligent musicians I have ever come across. What she does is she is so open about everything that it's hard to imagine there's anything we don't know about. I think she's not Generation Z, is she? She's the one before the millennials. She's always had a social media habit. She's grown up sharing her feelings. So I think she's basically told us about almost everything professionally. But of course, that she has bought the rights to her first 6 albums back. Were you aware of that?
I was not aware of that. I mean, but it sounds completely plausible.
Yes. I mean, she had this terrible falling out with the owner of her record company, and that guy sold her music to a guy called Scooter Braun, a music manager who Taylor hated. And she has spent about 5 years trying to buy her own music back. She finally did it a couple of weeks ago. She's a really, I think, really admirable person because she really does work for other musicians.
She does. Yeah.
Yes, and I feel as though she feels she is so fortunate that she wants to share her luck with everyone.
And I think you've touched on a point that really and truly stands her apart. I mean, this idea of, the musician got shafted by the record label and they're trying to buy back their rights and it goes on for years. I mean, that's not a new one. This is a pattern that seems to exist in the industry
Exactly.
from time immemorial. But oftentimes it comes out of this idea of it's mine, therefore I should have it. But what Taylor's done is something different. She's setting an example for everyone else. And not only is she setting an example, but she's actually working for everyone else, to your
Yes.
point. And I think that's amazing. And I must ask you, I mean, I do know that a lot of her early career, at least in her early life, was very much influenced by and managed by her mother. Is that still the case? Did that change?
She is extremely close to her mother, Andrea. Her mother accompanies her on tour all the time. I think what she and Andrea now have isn't so much mom running her career as just she uses mom as a sounding board, and she runs past every decision to her mother. But I don't think her mother really tells her what to do now. But basically they have the kind of relationship most girls have with a friend. It's actually really extraordinary. I mean, are you that close to your mother?
Well, I definitely have mother issues and daughter issues, which means that my daughter has mother issues. And so,
I mean, I remember, my mom, I mean, she's passed away now, I'm sorry to say, but I never told her the really, really personal stuff because I didn't want her to know. And
yeah.
Taylor shares everything with her mother.
Yes, yes. I feel like I've, at some point in my life, had a very special moment of bonding with Taylor Swift and her mother because years ago in Hong Kong, I paid through my nose to get front row tickets or, very close
Oh,
up to
wow.
the stage for my daughter. And there was a hair swishing situation, contest of some sort. And Taylor Swift's mother picked her amongst 5 other hair swishers to go backstage. So
Oh, your daughter.
my
Your daughter.
daughter. Yeah, so that's the closest we've ever gotten to Taylor Swift or
Was so
Andrea.
hang on. So when she went, you went with her, I
Oh,
assume.
no, no, no. I'm just the, you know, person who pays for the tickets.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
Yes, yes. So,
Fantastic.
Caroline, we are really looking forward to your reading an excerpt from your book. But before we do, let us know where we can find you, website, socials, anything else you'd like to share.
Well, I'm on X under the C Sullivan, T-H-E, capital C, Sullivan. That's me on X, and I am on Instagram, Caroline Sullivan 2, and I'm also on Facebook.
That was Caroline Sullivan. She is a UK-based music journalist and author of a book on Taylor Swift called Era by Era, an unauthorized biography. And now we're going to hear her read an excerpt, so stay tuned. And now to the premise of the True Fiction Project, which of course is to create fiction out of nonfiction.
The Eras tour closed in Vancouver on December 8th. The final show was watched by 54,500 people at the BC Place Stadium, unknown millions via live stream, and, well, it stands to reason, a number of people who paid $16.50 each to sit behind the stadium stage. Sold as listening-only tickets, they offered no view of the show. Amazing, no view of the show, and people still bought the tickets. The entire last evening, glittering and emotionally laden, was covered by every news outlet, with some offering minute-by-minute updates. A bit excessive? Maybe, but it felt right. This wasn't just the end of eras, it was the end of an era. The tour had navigated 149 tumultuous dates, unimpeded even by a terrorist threat that forced the cancellation of 3 Vienna dates in August 2024, and had finally reached the end of its road. Taylor's plan for what comes next, according to an Us Weekly report, is to take time off and do normal couple things with Travis Kelce. If she sees out a whole 12 months without making an album, playing a few shows on a much smaller scale, obviously, or releasing Taylor's versions of Reputation and the debut album, it will be the first professionally inactive period of her life. She did turn up the 67th Grammy Awards on February 2nd, 2025, though she's such a fixture at Grammy ceremonies that it almost counted as a leisure activity rather than formal work. Her short red sequin Vivienne Westwood dress, the sort of showpiece frock she carries off with ease, it helps being 5'11", but all eyes were diverted to her left thigh, to which she'd attached a delicate chain with the letter T dangling from it. Was the T for Travis, who was unable to attend because he was training for the following Sunday's Super Bowl? Or was she referencing a line from Guilty as Sin, a Tortured Poets Department song assumed to be about Matty Healy? The song muses about his writing mine on her thigh, making it easy to draw very probably the wrong inference. At any rate, the Daily Mail deemed the thigh chain risque, so job done.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Caroline. I cannot wait to read the full book. And this is going to put a whole new light on Taylor Swift, as far as I'm concerned.
Give it to your daughter.
I am going to give it to my daughter, absolutely, without a doubt.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on the True Fiction Project.
Thank you for listening to the True Fiction Project with Reenita Hora. Be sure to subscribe to the newsletter to receive more inspiring stories, showing how fiction is born from our everyday experiences. For more information, visit www.truefictionproject.com.